Greg here from Rockaway, president and your current account manager for most of this year, and I'm here with Chris Clark, who's in training to take over for me in the next couple months as your account manager. I just got done with Dan doing our site walk that gets done monthly, and we've got a couple more places that we're replacing some sod that we didn't have enough last time, so we should be all sodded up, if you will, by the end of next week. For the month of August, really after the rest of the sod gets in, agronomically, we're going to be fertilizing the entire turf areas, as well as putting an insecticide preventer as well as a weed preventer or pre-emergent. And then we're going to spot treat any existing weeds. Mostly, I'd say we're 90 to 95% weed free, so we're going to really hit our marks well in August. Additionally, we're starting to put some budget items together for the board, such as class 1 to 2 pruning on most of the oaks. Really, they've needed it for the last couple years. This one's fairly large in the common area, large relatively speaking to ones that are, let's say, in the front of the individual homes. But it's a good example. If we pan up into the tree, you're starting to see a lot of dead wood. And then additionally, let's see if I could find, you end up right here, see if I could reach it, with these galls that get up on the tree. So two things are happening here. First and foremost, we want the air to be able to push through during times of storm, specifically hurricane, especially with the ones closest to the house, because if the air can't get through it, the potential for it to fall on the house or a car exponentially increases. So that, again, is first and foremost. But then from a horticultural standpoint, these galls inevitably come from just too dense of a canopy. So really, if you're talking from a certified arborist standpoint, every 3 to 4 years, you want to get in here and get rid of all this dead wood. And when I refer to class 1 and class 2, that's the size of what we would call interior growth or sucker growth. That wants to be removed, again, so that airflow can get through it. Keeps the community safer, every homeowner's tree in the house safer, as well as the tree healthy. So maybe that gets passed in the budget this year. We're also going to include aeration for at least the front yards, both community-wide as well as individual pricing for, in case it doesn't get passed through the board, each homeowner will have the option to do aeration in the fall and or spring. Ideally, it gets done twice. You folks, or some of you folks, have some fairly large trees and oaks in particular that compete with the turf grass in a minimal space. Not ideal for St. Augustine. Certainly the aeration will help. But if we're looking here, we've got a relatively small turf area. Around the perimeter is all your concrete or hardscape, very hot, the exposure of the sun. And then additionally, we've got a tree that's only going to get bigger and bigger, which its roots are probably 4 foot down and certainly all the way over here. So this area then competes for the nutrients by aerating it and then putting our magic blend, if you will, of nutrients and mycorrhizae into this. It takes the compaction and just helps the turf get the nutrients instead of all the nutrients going to the tree. Now, it's not in every situation, but soil profiles, there's a lot of things that play into it. But hands down, the best way to get this back on the right track is with the additional spend and time of the aeration and then the micronutrients that we put into it. Again, it's just a tough area, and Nocatee in general, the soil profile, there's no better word than it stinks. So hopefully we can get that in the budget community-wide, and if not, I believe you'll have the choice to do your own house at a separate charge. We're also looking at a turf grass, or St. Augustine to be specific, replacement with perennial peanut on some of the small triangles. Like here, you've got this little triangle. This looks pretty well currently, but if there's an area that's really, really tough and really environmentally not friendly, the amount of chemical we have to put in here to prevent chinch bugs, because it's so hot from the island effect and the lack of turf, it's really a silly spot. And we are just suggesting, and like I said, having a lot better luck at some other HOAs introducing perennial peanuts. So, and even here, You know, it's 5 foot by 10 foot, but the heat that comes in here, and it's just a haven for chinch bug. I think going forward, we're going to suggest perennial peanut versus St. Augustine. We are going ahead and, as you know, community-wide replacing it, but inevitably, just economically, what we have to do because of these tight areas is factor in 2 to 3, even 5 pallets of sod replacement each year. We started scratching our heads. There's got to be a more environmentally and sustainable way to approach this. And this year we introduced, like I said, this perennial peanut. So there's going to be a lot of discussion about that going forward. I'm not sure that these areas we're going to be able to guarantee and warranty, which we have in the past, just because of where the environmental conditions, specifically the chinch bugs, are leading us to. So we feel like this is a good win-win for all of us from an environmental and economic standpoint going forward. So more to come on that in the later months. Property looks pretty darn good. The PGR is holding well. Plants are looking healthy. We're really happy at this time of the year for where we're looking, considering we're still on the, we'll call it drought restrictions or water restrictions. So it's really kind of a great partnership. I know Ron's working hard to keep the new sod wet, and we'll just keep on going as we go. And certainly appreciative of the crew that sprayed, you know, out here 90, 95, sometimes 100 degrees, making it happen, as well as Dan for keeping a good eye on the community and making sure we're on our A game. And that's what it's really about. It's got to be a good partnership, us all working together. If you do have concerns and complaints, of course, you know the drill, if you will. Let Michael and Stephen from May Management know, and it will come in the form of a work order, and both Chris and I are available to look at it every other week, or at least once a month. Dan, and now will be Chris and myself, will be riding the community. So we certainly appreciate the business. Look forward to a great August and a great budget season. Hopefully we can get some of these things that haven't passed in the future out. I think that can get us from an A to maybe an A+ going into next year. Thank you all, and again, appreciate the business.